Good afternoon, I'm the Expert Layman, and today I'm going to be talking about Shadow Priest DPS and why so many people fail. I didn't really have any interest in doing Shadow, mostly because I had a misconception of what it was capable of. Basically a mana battery. I thought that the Shadow DPS spec was gimped. That because it provided so much utility, and since priests are already really amazing healers... Oh, you can't ask for something like that on a stream. What was he thinking? That's funny. Okay. Well, I'm out here with Dr. Boom, which is basically the only training dummy in the game right now. To get back to my story, I believe that, and it makes sense because it's like, you know, if you're really good at one role, typically Blizzard won't let you be good at really good at other roles. So I'm like, well, you know, Shadow there's only so much damage it can do. It's basically, you know, crap, especially compared to pure DPS classes, or even like a you know, warrior DPS or shaman DPS. But I was mistaken, and how I learned that I was mistaken, let me check my stream real quick here. Okay, it does not appear to be going on mobile. Or it is. Yeah, okay. We're good. The way I found out that I was mistaken is a few weeks ago when I was... Maybe don't just rush in and kill the guy. I wonder if he's discovered that he needs to kill him with bombs yet. There he goes. Okay, Dr. Boom responds pretty quick, so I'm not really worried about it. The way I learned, third time, that I was mistaken was that I was in a Shadow Labyrinth run, and I was messing around with the Holy DPS, the Smite Spec, or my Smite Spec, because it seems to differ greatly from other people's. This Shadow Priest was freaking pumping. He was just... And his gear wasn't even that great. I mean, he was in, you know, some Karzan gear and some blues, and he was just kicking the crap out of everybody on the meter, and I didn't think that was really a thing that was possible. And it kind of, like, stuck in the back of my mind. I was focused on maximizing the smite thing, which, holy crap, you know, I did... Once I felt I'd hit the pinnacle of what I could do with the spec, with the gear, I did... was doing like 1,000 DPS on Prince Malchezaar in mostly healing gear, and not really even all that great of raid buffs. And I felt like you know, and even on that run, I'm like, yeah, this is the last one I'm doing, because I'd straightened out my spec a little more. Surge of Light isn't actually that great. You know, that's a long story. But after seeing what was possible with this guy, I wanted to give it a shot. And, well, I suppose I could first... There's three things, like with all specs, like there's three ways that people go wrong, and it gimps their damage output. They aren't itemizing their gear choices properly, they don't have their talents set up properly, or they're not working their rotation properly. And... although the first two are true to some degree with the Shadow Priest, I think it's the variable rotation that is difficult for a lot of people. Since Dr. Boom is dead, I will go through the talents and gear itemization first. First thing, crit is basically a dead stat. Maybe a quarter or a fifth of your damage is benefits from spell crit. So like any points you put, you know, any gear with crit on it is basically a lower item level than it appears, is one way of looking at it. So like an epic with a bunch of crit is basically like a blue. A blue with a bunch of crit is basically a green. And that might be the better way to look at it. I have a couple pieces with crit because I couldn't really avoid it, but I think I only have 2 pieces with crit on them. So yeah, I got the 2 pieces there. There's no crit on that, but I believe there's some crit on the gloves, but hey, that's not getting around that. And I do have the neck piece that's straight shadow damage, but with the 2-piece bonus, with the Charlotte's Ivy and the Lola's Eve, and that's a creepy backstory I'm not going to get into. It's only a little more shadow damage, but I lose out on the spirit and some intellect, which in long boss fights will do more for you than the shadow, especially, you know, you have the improved spirit. The improved spirit buff will increase your damage and healing by, was it like 15% of your spirit? And I don't have a lot of spirit, but spirit does more for you than crit, or at least it's sort of comparable and situational. But the spirit is good, even though my mana regen. And by the way, I'm doing this with 0 buffs. Hey, Dr. Boom's up, but I'm going to finish with this. Spirit and hit, and that's just a lot of damage and healing. And I don't think spell penetration is that helpful. I don't think that many bosses have any kind of significant resistances where you benefit from that very often, but it's a solid piece. I need the hit rating, which I'll explain why later. These are my 2 blues, and these, you know, spirit and spell power. And this is the other piece with crit, but I needed a one-hander to go with this because this Orb of the Soul Eater is really awesome. I have it on my, as you can see, I have it on my Warlock too. And hit on the wand. And I showed the gloves earlier. And, you know, spirit and spell power. Again, a lot of hit. And I think that I guess I can get into the talents here in a second. But more of the same. Spell hit. And having both of these is very helpful. And then I have a macro where it will just... You can set up a macro to just activate whatever trinkets happen to be in your trinket slots. You don't have to have a macro that targets a specific trinket. You can just target the slot. And it will activate whichever one happens to be available, if any. So avoid the crit. Try to get spirit if you can. But the talents, here's where I really differ from the cookie cutter shadow builds. It seems to be shadow focus and shadow weaving. Now, a very strong argument could be said that you don't need 5 points in shadow weaving. On a long fight, you're going to be hitting them often enough that you'll be able to maintain all 5 of your stacks. And, you know, that's probably correct. But one of the downfalls of the Shadow Priest is your backloaded damage. It takes you time to ramp up. And 20% doesn't seem like a lot, but would you put up with 20% miss rate on your spells? Basically, it means you can cluster together several, and it'll happen somewhat regularly where you just don't apply it. So I like to have that, and because I get put that up again. Since I have 12% hit on my gear, I only need 4% from my talents to cap. And it kind of, a thing that I've noticed a couple of times is spending talent points on things you can itemize for on your gear can cost you, because talents can do things that you know, your gear can't. So that gives me 3 extra points. Another thing I see that seems to be part of the cookie cutter build is the inner focus. And it seems pretty awesome. Free spell, increase 25% crit. But once every 3 minutes, that's a really insignificant amount of mana. And if it was like a guaranteed crit, I would say, yeah, probably. But it's just not worth the point. Not when you can. And here's the other place. They seem. This lets me put all five. Or wait, no, it's not that one. Yes. Now crit on your gear stinks, but be able to, you know, get up to 15% because a lot of times people only have like 2 or 3 points in this, and that really helps. And I don't even use Shadow Word Death as part of my rotation. It doesn't seem to do enough to justify damaging yourself. And it's nice to have it in situations where you just need to do some quick damage to something and you know you're not going to be taking AoE damage. This also lets me do this. Like your target shadow energy causes, you know, 25% of your shadow damage heals everybody in your party. And taking it up to 35, if you're doing 1,000 DPS and you have your improved vampiric embrace. Now I don't use it on a lot of fights, only when I know that, you know, area damage is coming through. 35% of 1,000 DPS, you're healing every player and pet, you know, for 350 health per second. That's almost twice what a renew is doing. And it can make quite a difference in a fight, especially in 5-mans, and especially if you have like a paladin healer who doesn't have any kind of multi-target healing. So, not used that often, but it's really nice to be able to like pump out more healing for your group when they need it. And just not having the hit, or you know, you getting the hit from your gear, just lets you optimize what you do best. Okay, I think just like a basic demonstration of what I can do with my shadow. Oh, hey, people in chat. That's weird. Not real people, apparently. Bots in chat. But I am going to go ahead and go through the rotation. The other thing that, the other advantage that I have is that I'm playing on a gamepad. And being able to activate your abilities without having to click on, you know, buttons on your action bar or move your hand off of WASD to hit hotkeys. It makes it a lot easier to smooth out the damage you're doing, or, you know, the variable rotation is a little rough, and this kind of makes it a little bit easier to do. Now, I got my damage meter up, and I have 0 buffs. So I'm just going to show you, and you saw what my gear was. I mean, it's good, but, you know, and my priest has never set foot inside a 25-man raid. So that'll give you an idea of the limit of, you know, how good my gear might be. So I'm going to go ahead and do like a minute of damage. Okay. Oh, did he resist my freaking Shadow Word Pain? Well, that's gonna cost me. Why is it? Oh, there we go. Well, I screwed up. Hitting the wrong button. So yeah, it is easy to get tripped up while you're doing the while you're doing this. Typically, I was out here testing before the stream and I was hitting like 900, but when you're hitting the wrong button, it'll do that to you. But still, without any raid buffs, you know, 800 is not bad. And So basically, the way I'll typically do it is pop a trinket. Oh, shoot. You know what? I'll need to do that again. I had the wrong screen up. Well, you can see the meter anyway. You couldn't see what I was doing. Hit a trinket. Hit the vampiric touch. And at the end of the cast on the vampiric touch, put your shadow word paint on. You got a global to wait. Do your mind blast. And go right into 2 mind flays. And then another mind blast. Because the mind flays are 3 seconds. And the cooldown on this is 5.5. So you do 2 mind flays, your mind blast will be up again. And you go through basically 2 cycles of that. Or 3 cycles of that, and then you come back and you can reapply your vampiric touch. And then you do 3 cycles again, and you reapply your vampiric touch and your shadow word pain. And usually around that time, your other trinket is up. And you repeat. Yeah, like I said, I typically don't run my Vampiric Embrace, unless I know damage is going to be taken. And I normally don't even hit my Shadow Word Death, but I was like, my DPS sucks on this test. I got to cheese it a little bit. But I would recommend, and I recommend this on like pretty much all ranged classes, to just come out on Dr. Boom and screw around. Now, it kind of sucks that you're stuck in combat, and you can't drink. You know, it's a stream. And now you can actually see what I'm doing. Try this again. Okay. See if I can do it right this time. Oh, I didn't reset the meter. I'm starting over. It just keeps ticking away. Yeah, I kind of feel bad, like, because I think I don't know how hard the rotation is, and I don't want to make people feel bad if they aren't able to roll with it. Like, and Blizzard does this. Like in Lich King, I discovered this thing with Feral Druid DPS, to where basically if you can juggle like 7 or 8 buffs and debuffs in just the right way, you can do crazy damage with a Feral Druid. But you never see anybody doing it. I remember after a pug, was it Fault of Archivon? This is that PvP raid. I did extremely well. And then I had some guy, raid leader, messaging me asking me why 2 of his druids have decided to stop healing and go feral. Like, what are you telling these people? Okay. Gonna reset the meter this time. Again, I got no buffs. And trinket's almost up. See if I can do it right this time. Oh, I guess that's not up. Thought my Devouring Plague was up. Mind Blast. Vampiric Touch. Mind Blast. And I'm gonna... It's good to put your Shadow Word Pain at the end of something that has a cast. I'm gonna hit my trinket again. Hit my other trinket. If you use your trinket right before you apply dots, it'll, you know, it affects it for the whole duration, even if the trinket runs out. See, even I get screwed up sometimes. Again, I'm going to do the Mind Blast. It's okay to let them run out and not be up for a little while. That's not too bad. Still maintaining like 800. But with an item level of, I don't know, 112 or something, average item level 112, maybe 113. With raid buffs, 1,000, you know, or even just, you don't even have to have that many buffs. 1,000 DPS is totally achievable. You know, I don't have any consumables, I don't have any buffs, and not getting any mana from anybody else. This Shadow Priest can, and the higher the damage, see, you're a utility class, but utility entirely hinges on how much damage you can do. Since your shadow damage determines how much mana you're giving everybody, and how much healing you're giving everybody, being able to do more damage is utility. Oh my god. Freaking running Karzan last night. Something went sideways, and a two-man like ran amok and took out both healers. And I had to heal the rest of the fight as Shadow, and that's freaking brutal. This is like, oh my god, my greater heal takes so long to cast, and my mana regen sucks, and like, got through it though. 2 mana pots and a Shadow Fiend and a well-geared tank was enough. I really like being useful. And I don't like drama, which is pretty much why I'm not that interested in 25-man raids, because there's always so much drama and so many opportunities for people to become bitter and start undermining the group's success as they try to target other people and make them the bad person. And this is typically why I will gravitate towards things that people don't care about a whole lot and see what I can do with them, like protection DPS, or, you know, holy DPS on my priest, or, you know, smite spec. Because you're not gonna like trigger people because nobody else is doing that. But oh boy, if I go in and freaking dominate the meter with my warlock, just people coming out of nowhere just finding ways to be a dick to me, and it's like, oh my god. And Shadow is no different. When you go in and you're doing literally almost twice as much damage as somebody with better gear than you, they don't like that. They tend to get a little pissy about it. And rather than like own the fact that maybe they're doing something wrong, they act like somehow you must be cheating. And they try to correct it by undermining your ability to do damage, like pulling your salvation buff and giving you something else on Prince, like that happened. Like, really? I'm basically sitting there at like 100% mana because I just can't do it. Like, I can't do any damage. I just, all I can do is maintain my dots. I can't do a freaking Mind Flay or Mind Blast. I had to like let the tank get like a good like 10, 15k ahead of me before phase 2 so I could actually help push through phase 2. But yeah, I like Prince as kind of the benchmark, as it's a long fight and it'll kind of like weed out, you know, because you can do good damage if the fight isn't very long, but if you got to go for a while, that'll show. And I just like being useful and pumping people full of mana. and helping the healer when we're taking AoE damage. I really enjoy doing that. And I like figuring out difficult things, and this rotation is one of those difficult things. So, yes, I'll go. You know, I'll say it again. Trinket. Oh, the other thing is when you're doing trash, or even when you're running 5-mans and doing trash, you really need to pay attention to how long it's taking things to die. Because your Shadow Word Pain lasts for 24 seconds. If the thing is unlikely to live more than like 12 seconds, don't even use your Shadow Word Pain. It's not worth the global. I mean, yeah, it's also maybe not worth the mana, but if you're talking about damage, and the thing is, that people don't often consider, if you are just spreading around dots, Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch, you can spread them just as fast. Because this takes the global, which is a second and a half, and this takes a second and a half. So, as long as you're just going Vampiric Touch, tab, Vampiric Touch, tab, oh, maybe I could demonstrate this. So, Vampiric Touch, tab, 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 Vampiric Touch, tab. Unfortunately, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of damage from this because this stuff doesn't live for very long. Oh, I don't think they're actually going on the targets. Oh yeah, they are. But, on trash, and the other thing is if they're like, if you know they're going to be up for, if it's like elite trash, like you see in Karzan a lot, and you know the targets are going to be up for a while, you just go Vampiric Touch, and then put a Shadow Word Pain. Vampiric Touch, put a Shadow Word Pain. And as your global's cycling, you can jump to the next target. And that will actually do, like, you're not going to compete with like a mage or like an Arcane Explosion or a Blizzard, or you might beat a Rain of Fire, but you're not going to beat Seed of Corruption. Like a true AoE, you're not going to be able to outperform, but you're going to be able to do pretty good. And the more health they have, the more you can get out of it. Like we were doing current spiders in the basement, and I don't think, and we didn't have a mage. We did have a warlock, but seeded a bit early, and then I'm just basically you can do a lot better AoE damage than you would think with the Shadow Priest. And don't bother with your Shadow Word, although sometimes it's easier, you know. Basically, if you can, I really highly suggest playing on a gamepad. It gives you all kinds of advantages. I have loot down there, and I'm finally out of combat, and he respawns really fast. Did he actually drop anything? 12 silver, woo! But yeah, I guess if I was going to bullet point things, avoid the crit, stack the stack the spell power, especially shadow spell power, try to get some spirit, try to get enough hit so that you can reallocate the points from shadow focus into other stuff so you can be a better utility for your group. And most important of all, come out to Dr. Boom and play with your rotation. I'm the Expert Layman. Thanks for watching.